how do we make sure you don't fall into a depression once you make a lot of money? Because this is something that happened to me a while back. I've already alluded to this into some of my previous videos, but now I want to go into detail on exactly why it happened. And if I were to go back, how I would avoid it. This is the most interesting part, because I have a friend who's recently started to make a lot of money. And the advice that I'm about to give you on this video worked wonders for him. So watch this video because I don't want it to happen to you. And in case you're in it, this is how you get out. And overall, I just think it's great life advice. So just for quick context for the people who haven't seen my previous videos, I made a bunch of money with e-commerce, affiliate marketing, crypto. Then I moved to Bali and I had everything right. I had the women, I had the looks, I had the money, I had the freedom, everything right. Well, turns out 2 weeks later, I'm on the phone crying with a friend, completely depressed. So what went wrong? Let's start with the juicy stuff. You know what the first problem was? That I was listening to these guys, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. This was actually the first problem. What I mean by this is that these guys were constantly talking about how much money they would save with everything, even with the most minute things, right? He would go to McDonald's on Wednesdays because the burgers were actually like 50 cents cheaper. And he has been driving the same car for like 20 years or I don't know how long. So literally having almost no expenses, right? No matter how much money you have. Look, the problem with this mindset is that what you're telling your subconscious is that money is scarce. And this whole thing is just complete BS. I don't care how much money the person who's saying this has. It is horrible, horrible, horrible advice. I think it's really important that when you make money, you go celebrate it. So that's the thing. And I've been telling my friend recently who started making money, like, dude, buy whatever it is that you want to buy a Rolex, get that Rolex. You want to buy a new car, get the car, the clothes and everything, get a nicer place. All of that stuff, go do it 100%. Because also it's really important that it is immediate so that your brain understands that when you do a positive action, you get a positive result. That's why you have to do it right and there, right in the moment. You have to celebrate your wins. It's super basic, but it's really, really important. And if you're someone like me who's been listening to these guys for years, you're probably not doing it. But you might be thinking like, well, you actually did celebrate it, right? You went to Bali and you had all these girls, whatever. No, this was late. Like I did this like 2 or 3 years later after doing this, because I started thinking to myself, like, what is the point of all this money that I'm making? It's just like numbers on a bank account. What I'm actually doing with it. And I was already starting to feel the consequences of the depression and all of that stuff. That's why I ended up going to Bali. And here's the thing, you might not like the cars, you might not like the watches, whatever. You can do other stuff, okay? You can give money to your friends, to your family, you can go on trips, experiences. Like there's so many different ways in which you can spend money. And even with materialistic stuff, you might not necessarily like watches, but there has to be something that you might like. So just go and spend the money on that thing. And also the symbolism of it. The fact that you have this physical thing that represents something great that you did, there's a lot of power in that. And also at the end of the day, like you were born with nothing. If you actually lose money, you're actually not losing anything because you actually never owned it. But that's more of a philosophical thing for another day. So yeah, just always keep money moving. And this leads me to the second point. In the same way that you always have to keep your money moving, you always have to keep your projects moving. Because when I closed the businesses that I had and I moved to Bali, I was like, yeah, this is just some time off. I'm just gonna enjoy life and all of that. That is complete BS, okay? Time off, it doesn't work like that. You have to be doing something. You always need some project that you're working on. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's only gonna be money projects. You can work on other stuff. If you wanna do some charity work, you wanna help someone else with something that they're doing, but there has to be something, some kind of physical purpose in a way that you're working on. Which you might be thinking, well, but what about the monks, right? The monks that are just go to a mountain and they meditate and they're happy and they renounced everything. Well, the thing is that you just said it, right? They renounced everything. What you cannot do is to have one foot in and one foot out, right? And be split in the middle, like still indulge in money and all of this life, but at the same time wanting to be a monk and do nothing. It doesn't work, right? When monks do that, they renounce to absolutely everything, 100% of everything. So if you're still in this world and you're still using money and traveling and all of that stuff, you do need your projects. You need to work on things. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's just going to split you apart and it's going to be really, really painful, psychologically speaking. And then the third piece of advice that I would give you is to change your value system, right? What you have to start regarding as the most important thing is knowledge, okay? Like Tai Lopez, okay? It's wisdom, it's knowledge. Because something that also happens when you go into these periods is that what you start to focus on is a lot of times the pleasures of life, right? Like enjoying the money and the women and all of that stuff, which is amazing. But as you'll see, there's not that much depth to it. It seems like there's a lot of depth, but there isn't, right? So what you have to do is to keep pursuing those things because they're really, really nice and they're really important. As I'm saying during this video, like go and make the money, go and spend it, work on projects, like do that. But within your hierarchy of priorities and the things you value, at the top, you should have wisdom and knowledge, right? So not so much the pleasure of the body, but the pleasure of the spirit and the mind. So if you do these three things, you spend your money and enjoy it, you're always working on something regardless of what it is, and you regard your personal growth, spiritual, intellectual, all of that stuff as the highest and most important thing, you will be able to avoid what happened to me and be actually pretty happy, and you will not end up like me right here. Okay, so that's it for this video. Just some quick thoughts that I wanted to share with you. I hope it was helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave me a like, leave me a comment. I love to read comments. Check this video right here. I'm sure you're also gonna like it. Also check my website. You'll find the link in the description. And that's it, and hopefully I will see you on the next video. Take care. Peace.